So now that we've got our design and we've got our toolpath built in, I'm going to select the green toolpath. I'm going to click engrave, and I've set a cutout for this acrylic job itself. This is cake topper cutting. Now, if you're going to be cutting out wood, or you're going to be cutting out a thinner piece, or you're going to be cutting out something different, you have to use the right settings. These settings now I've tested and used with this particular acrylic. There are also different grades of acrylic, so be careful. Always run a test cut prior. What's important in these settings is the Z clearance is 0.4 to make sure we clear when we're traveling between vectors. Okay? Not going to add too much time because you're not doing a lot of lifting in this particular job. The only time you're going to lift is when you go from inside here and inside here, one last lift, and then it does the final cut. Also, our cut velocity is 0.2, and very important with acrylic. Normally when we're doing plastic, we're rotating the spindle speed at about 12 to 14,000. With acrylic, you're going to be anywhere in the 7,500 to 8,000 range. Any faster rotation, and you're going to gum up the acrylic, and it will melt back to itself. Okay. My accessories, my spindle is on because I'm rotating. My vacuum's on because I'm going to suck up these chips, and my proximity is on because I'm using the proximity to find the surface. Click OK. I'm going to send this job over. And so I've designed it, I've set up the machine, I've checked the settings, now I'm going to run it. When I run it, always important, especially when you're cutting something as deep as this, that I start and I keep my finger on the emergency stop just in case. Okay? Another thing that you might run into is the multi-mat. There's so much force on the job that the multi-mat might not stick, or over time it'll wear and it'll start to sort of move the multi-mat. You can clamp the piece down, right, to hold it in place, but eventually multi-mats are consumable, you'll want to replace it. There are other techniques for holding and sacrificial. They all add time to the job. Okay, this is the quality of cut after the first pass. So we've excavated all these chips. Notice we don't have anything lying around, so our speed was right on. Yeah. But with the next pass, we're going to be excavating even more, so we may see some chips left over. Cut quality is good, and the job time took 4 minutes. So the second part is just to change the tool out to the proper tool for cutting out, the one that's set for the full cutout. And then all I need to do is press start, and it'll run the job. Okay, we're now cutting out. We've sent the second job to run again, and it's cutting all the way through. Notice there are some chips left, which will be typical of a very deep cut. As long as it's not piling and lifting the nose cone, you're in good shape. Always take inspection of the hose right here, because you want to make sure that it's not getting jammed. If it is, press pause on the pendant so that you can clean it. But most likely you'll want to pause and rerun the job at a different setting.
Does that mean it's not sucking it? You see all those chips in there?
Yeah, actually. So no, don't worry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle this around.
Does that help?
Yeah, to break it up a little. Now if it's yep, right. So there's a point where you want to just make sure it keeps sucking up chips. So that's why you have those holes there, and then we can improve the suction. When you have that high volume nose cone, that won't be an issue at all. You'll get that maybe like once in a blue moon.
Caught that.
Good job.
Yeah.
Well, you sit there all day long and you.
Should I pause it now?
Yeah, final cutout. Notice that it did leave some chips. But what we're looking for is that it cut through and get a down shot of this all the way through. Let me get that. So you want to make sure that I can see the pink multi-mat right there. Right, and then that's a nice clean cut. All of this, as long as the chips aren't melting back to the acrylic, you're going to be in good shape. So now I just peel this off. And I have a little cleanup to do, especially here where it sort of did melt back a little, but it's not like it affected the cut. Well, actually in here it did. So it lifted up here. So this, you might get this problem. When it starts to melt too much, right, I may have to take a file to this just to clean that up right there on the inside, or a little sandpaper. But aside from that,
so if we get that high volume nose cone, it's the buildup that causes that sticking?
because what's happening is it's lifting the cutter out.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not cutting all the way through.
Right, because it's set to cut just right there and barely score.
Okay.
So this right here, you see that right there? I'm gonna have
You
to
just gotta
break it,
off
or yep.
and then file it.
Yeah, and file it. So I want you to have a good piece. So 1 second. Oh, I wouldn't film this.
Stab yourself.
Yeah, right. You film good.